afternoon, everyone. This is Gianni from the Renegade Health Show, and today is Monday, and we hope you had an incredible weekend. We did. We went to a Chargers game, and we decided to stay another day in San Diego. So today we're going to stay in San Diego. We're going to go to Las Vegas, but the weather here is so beautiful. I just didn't want to be in 100-degree weather in Las Vegas and just be missing the time that we could spend here. And your show for today is the third installment of the Donna Gates How to Make Cultured Vegetables video. So I really hope you enjoy this, and let me know what you think about the three-part episode. This is the first three-part episode we've ever done. Let me know what you think about it at the end of the show. Thanks a lot. Enjoy.
Okay, so now it's time to pack the vegetables into the jar. And you can put your vegetables into a big gigantic crock if you want to. That's what people did and still do around the world. By the way, all around the world, these are often called sauerkraut. And we don't use that term because I would tell people, I would use the term sauerkraut, and people would go into the health food store and buy these jars that had cabbage, but they were like pasteurized and had vinegar and salt and things like that, and that wasn't what we meant at all. We meant something really alive, and so I changed the name and started calling it cultured vegetables about 15 years ago, and that's kind of caught on. Okay. But you can pack them, of course, in crocks. That's what people do around the world, particularly in places like Russia. Every fall, families get together and they bring their cabbage and their produce from the garden, and they ferment vegetables to last through the winter. But I don't like to use the big crocks because they're too hard to wash out. I had a big gigantic crock, eventually gave it to somebody, but I have to take it to the bathtub. It was so large and didn't fit in the sink. So I was always trying to make things easier for people, and we really recommend a lot of times these simple ball canning jars that you can buy very easily. A lot of hardware stores have them. And the beautiful thing about them is you can use this glass over and over and over again for years, really. And all you do is you buy new tops for them. The tops are easy to purchase in a separate box, and after a couple of times they start to smell funny anyway. They smell like cultured vegetables, and so maybe you will want to just get new tops, or they might get a little rusty. So that's really what we recommend most of the time. They also fit very conveniently in your refrigerator, which is important. Otherwise, if you've got a big crock, you've got to take it out of the crock,
put it in small jars anyway.
So we tended to go that way. However, I have also found a company called WECK, W-E-C-K, and they make beautiful jars for canning. This is a German company. They also do a lot of fermented foods in Germany. And they have different sizes, and this tulip size is really pretty, particularly around the holidays. If you would like to order these and give a gift of fermented foods away to people, it really is a lovely, thoughtful thing to do, and people used to do more of that years ago when we didn't have such a commercial Christmas. Holidays were giving away things that came from your heart. Also, I think it's good to even get these other small jars. These are little, the ball and curd people have these smaller jars, and they're handy too, because oftentimes your neighbors will come over and say, "What are you eating? I want to try some of that." And maybe you don't want to give them a big jar in case they don't like it. So always packing a few little jars is a smart idea. Okay, so I just want to show you, if you do choose to use the WECK jars, they're very cool because you can take this rubber seal that comes with the jar, and you can keeps the air out, and that's very important to keep the air out. Whether you use these jars or if you use the crocks, where you put the lid on, like a plate, and you put a towel over it. Those, it's very easy for the air to get in, and when you do that, usually the top layer spoils. That means everything down below is fine to eat, but you have to scrape off that top layer and throw it away, because it won't be good, and it won't hurt you to eat it, but it doesn't look good, it doesn't smell good, and you just naturally won't want to eat it. A question that people ask a lot is, how do I know if it's fermented or if it's spoiled? When it's fermented, the color brightens up and it becomes beautiful. You can see in this jar of fermented vegetables, if these had spoiled, they would have looked brown and dark black, just awful looking. And when you opened them up, they would have smelled really grotesque. And these have a beautiful color, so that's how you can tell. Now, they do have an unusual smell. So when you open the jar and the air comes out, it does fill the room with sort of a unique, unusual smell, which lasts just a few seconds, and then it goes away. So maybe
we always get looks when we
So you just want to pack your jars, and you want to pack these vegetables in very tightly, because your goal is to get rid of as much air as you can get rid of. And you want to be sure that no air comes in afterwards. And then also there's a lot of juice in here, so get some of that good juice into your veggies too. The more juice is down in here, the more the more the vegetables are covered with the liquid and the juice, the nicer they're going to be. If there's not enough juice in here, they'll be kind of dry. And most people prefer the juicier vegetables. And if you've got juice, of course, you can always pour off that juice and drink it. Now, I have, not with me, but I have a little potato masher that fits right down in here, and I usually push that down. It's a great thing to use. But you can always just use your hands or a spoon to push it down. But you would be amazed at how much you can push it down. And you also notice it gets juicier. See, by pushing it down now, all that juice that I put in there is pretty much covering those vegetables. Now, it's a good idea to take some of your large, when you're making, in the very beginning, take some large leaves and wash them off and shake them dry, and then you're going to use these to kind of pack down the top here, because again, you're trying to fill up all the airspace. So they don't have to be beautiful looking. Usually they're not, because they're kind of outside leaves, and you just kind of tuck them into the top. You can eat these later on. They will ferment, but most of the time people do just sort of throw them away because they're tougher. They're so big they don't really ferment well, but they certainly do ferment. They're not spoiled. So just kind of cover the top of those again to help keep the air out a little bit. And okay, there we go.
Great.
Beautiful. Yeah, and again, because we put the humic minerals, see how dark that water looks? But that'll change and brighten up, and it'll be a great finished product in a week. You can let them ferment for longer than a week. You can let them ferment 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Actually, in places like Russia, they will make a whole entire barrel at a time, and then they'll go and take some out and take that in the house and eat it, and then keep it fermenting. But actually, once the microflora lose their food source, in other words, there's no more sugar in there, they start to die. So you'll still have a product that's fermented, but it doesn't have the live bacteria in it. That's important.
So once it's all packed up, where would you store it, and at what temperature, and how long?
Well, you want to keep it at a steady room temperature of about 72 degrees. And so if your temperature, like in California, the temperature drops at night, and as soon as it drops, then the fermentation stops, and you can spoil a batch by doing that. So steady temperature is important. You want to keep it around 70, 72 degrees. If you have to, put it in an ice chest or something like that in your pantry, or even sometimes I've even put little heating pads in a big container, a big box or something to keep my temperature steady. And you'll keep it for a week. You don't, the light isn't really a big factor. You can put it in the dark if you want to, but just regular temperature sunlight in your house is fine. You just don't want to put it in the direct sunlight. Just regular room light is fine.
Okay, thank you so much for showing this to us, showing us how to make fermented foods. I know a lot of you have been asking for it, so here it is. And at the end of every show, we ask our viewers a question of the day. So what would your question of the day be?
How about how many people will be eating fermented foods at every meal 2 years from now?
It's a great question. How many people do you think will be eating fermented foods 2 years from now? Post it down below. This is Anne-Marie Gianni on the Renegade Health Show, and our guests,
Gina Laverty,
Donna Gates.
Together, we can change the health of the world one show at a time.